Hello everyone, this is Kamar bringing you a battle report on the Broadside Bash. This is game 3 of the tournament, Warriors of Chaos versus Dwarves. So in this, I won't really cover any of the tournament background, the comp scores, and the overall rating and the whole card system. For that, please visit my original video called the Tournament Summary for the Broadside Bash. I'll provide a link below so you could jump there. Once you're done watching that video, come back and enjoy battle report for game 2 and 3. But that said, let me move on to a little bit about the strategy and the overall approach for game 3. So now we're for this game. I forget exactly what the name is or what the theme is here, but essentially it's fortitude, and so it's all about breaking fortitude. And so even the battle points associated to the round are be themed around fortitude. So you get 1 point for having your general at the end of the game. You get 1 for killing your opponent's general. You get maybe 500. You get 1 for beating your opponent by 500, and you get another 1 if you're the first one to kill your opponent's general. And so it's all about getting in there, getting dirty, and having a bloodbath. So I know it's going to be a tough game, especially Warriors of Chaos. His unit's fast, his army's fast. He'll be on me by turn 2 minimum, right? And so I kind of set the mindset. My strategy. I won't be up 12 inches off of the edge. I'm gonna drop back a little bit more to give myself some buffer in case I don't get the first turn. During deployment phase, my opponent makes a critical mistake. He's worried about my cannons, and you know, I tell you, as a dwarf player, I always take cannons, but I hate the cannons. At least, especially in 8th edition, in 8th edition, it has failed me time and time again. It's just, I always hit, but I just can't do any damage, and so either I can't wound, or if I wound, I only cause 1 wound. So it really doesn't. It's really not effective. But boy, the psychological impact it has on my opponents is fantastic. They make all sorts of mistakes because of the cannon. It also prevents them from walking around uncontested on the battlefield for fear of what this cannon might do. And here's a perfect example of this game, how it affected my opponent. During the deployment phase, I'm sorry, not the deployment phase, but during the terrain setup phase, he wins the roll-off and picks the largest piece of impassable terrain and puts it on the field, on the right side. So the strategy that I know he's going to do, he's going to hide his key units there. Most likely it'll be the flyer, because if he puts his skull crushers back there, then he's going to lose time getting to me. And so so then what I do is I see this opportunity. Like I've mentioned before, I'm afraid of my flanks. I want him to come to the center. I grab the other piece of impassable terrain and put it on my left side. Now I'm going to funnel his whole army into the center of the battlefield. And I could focus all of my shooting in the center. I could use my gyrocopters to redirect and stuff up the center of the battlefield and just kind of slow him down and start picking away at my opponent's units. And also, you know, I'm not big enough to block the flanks. He blocks the flanks, so we can't get there. But on my side, I can. But if he deploys on that side, it's going to take him yet another turn to get to there. So he's aware that he has to put everything in the center. And so during deployment phase, he goes ahead and deploys everything in the middle. And again, that's yet another mistake, because he doesn't have the center doesn't have enough space for all of his models, so he's forced to put his dragon ogres on the far back, and he's just congested up in front. Having a lot of, you know, I'm enjoying the beer, I'm enjoying the camaraderie. I'm having a good time with this opponent. He's actually a real good guy, and we get along great. But I kind of forget to take the pictures, and so after my first turn and his first turn, I realized, wake up. And so I started taking pictures from this point on out. So things continue to go bad to worse on my opponent. I win the first turn, and that's what I need. I need that first round of shooting. On top of that, I win hatred. I roll hatred for my ancestral grudge. And so that means that not only am I going to get first turn shooting, but when he finally reaches me, Dwarfs with hatreds and great weapons is just not something you want to be greeted with. So right now, I'm happy. Everything has been working my way from the deployment of terrain to his deployment. And so now we go on, and I'm looking at his deployment, and what I do is I advance. I'm looking at his deployment, and I know that that if I could bottle him up, if I could bait him, and he takes the bait, I could really slow down his advancement. So what I do is I vanguard my gyro with the brimstone gun up into the impassable terrain on the right side, and then during movement I hop over the terrain, and I want to either take pot shots at his demon prince or shoot at his skull crushers based on how well my organ gun depletes that unit. I advance my gyrocopter up to the center of the table. I'm hoping that he takes the bait, and I'm hoping that he charges his dogs at me. And the reason why I say that is because I know I could hold against the dogs. I think that's the only unit I could hold up against. And if he charges me, then I'll stick around. And the idea is I'm hoping that I do no damage to him, and I also hope he doesn't do any damage to me, so that we stay in the middle of the battlefield and kind of congest up the center of the battlefield, forcing him to go around me. And if I kill some of his models, that's going to open up my frontage, and then he's going to have a front attack. So as long as I don't kill anybody, he'll have to move around and then get a flank charge. So that's kind of my best hope scenario. I also advanced my other gyro as well to try to say the same bait on the right side. I want to bait his marauders and have them charge my gyro. So on my shooting phase, I do fantastic. I start off by unloading my organ gun into his chosen ones. Now, he was 16 units strong, and as you can see, he's down only to one model. And in that model, he has his general and his BSB. The cannon goes into the skull crushers, as well as my grudge thrower. And as you could see, they had 4 models, so I'm able to take 2 off. I have to use my brimstone to finally finish off the second guy, so now he has two models only at full wounds. So again, the gyro, the cannon and the grudge thrower just don't do very good combined. The flame cannon goes to town on his unit of Forsaken. As you can see, it was a full rank, 10 wide, 4 deep, and he loses a whole rank and a half. The flame cannon and the organ gun continue to be my MVPs. They continue to be the war machines that help wither down and reduce the big threats. Now on his turn, also I advance my longbeards up to protect the flank against the cannon. I see him approaching. I know he's going to go after my cannon, and I know that's his biggest fear for his demon prince. On his turn, he advances everything forward. As you could see, he takes the bait. He charges my gyro, and now we're stuck. And unfortunately, on his turn, I actually do a wound to a dog, and now I have my frontal open, leaving me open for a charge. So I'm hoping still though that I don't do any more damage. This way I don't want to receive a charge from the dragon ogres. He advances his demon prince to the as far possible into my ranks and deep and away from my cannon. I still have a front view for his demon prince from my thunderers. but my cannon and my Grudgler still have clear shots at him. In his magic phase, the only damage he does is he gets rid of my my gyro. Or I forgot to mention also my thunders reduce his marauders down to half the size as well. Bottom of Dwarf turn 2, and so during his movement phase, he had moved up his chosen with his general and BSB, and he makes the mistake of advancing them as forward as possible, which makes it an easy charge for my slayers. Now I'm thinking I have a choice here. I could either try to get rid of that unit with all of my shooting, but with the armor save and the ward save, he has a good chance of maybe just losing 1 or 2 models at most. But if I don't kill all of them, each one of those characters is strong enough to take out one of my war machines. And so I could, if I don't engage him and stop him, then I see that he could easily hit my war machines and then get on my back flanks. And now I have nothing to take care of the rest of his army, and while he's wreaking havoc on my back. So what I do is I charge with my slayers. I don't think I'm going to win. I'm hoping that I will win, but I know that they're tough. I know I'm not going to cause a lot of wounds, but I'm going to hold the center line. I'm going to force his units to have to either move around my slayers or charge my slayers in order to get rid of them. Meanwhile, my war machines are free to continue to bombard the rest of his armies. One thing on his turn, the bottom of his turn one, he had hit his chariot. So now he moves them up, and you could see that my slayers are most likely going to take a charge from the chariot. His demon prince. Oh yeah, so here it is. Here's my chance. Here's my chance. The demon prince all by himself. I have a grudge thrower, and I have a cannon, and I have two chances of completely wiping out this demon prince. And oh my God, I cannot even scratch him. Not one wound is caused. Both my grudge thrower and cannon hit him. None of them are wounded. I think one of them he saves with the ward save, and the other one I just roll a 1 to wound. So frustrating, so frustrating. But the threat's still there, and he's still scared to face my cannon. The Thunderers shoot into his unit of Marauders and wipe them out. As you can see on the movement phase, I also move my gyro away from his dogs. The idea is that I'll continue to use to harass his skull crushers, and if that threat's not gone, or if his dragon ogres finally are advancing, I'll use that gyro to redirect. still the top of Dwarf turn 2. Just a better shot on the side and see what's happening. So his Forsaken, after I see how fast they move, I know that he has a good chance of reaching me. And so I move my Longbeards a little bit more to block the cannon. The idea here is I want to be on the hill. If he fails that charge, it's still a long charge. He could still fail. If he fails that charge, then I'll be able to countercharge him. And, you know, I'll be starting with, you know, +2 combat res, right? I'll be on top of the hill. I'll be charging from on top of the hill. And I'll get the charge. So I'll start with the combat res of 2. So, you know, and that's still an option. I might not even have to charge. But at least I'm there. I'm protecting the cannon. I know how scared he is of my cannon. And so I want him to know that the threat is still out there. Again, you could see a little bit of shots. The Slayers, so if you look at the combat here, the Slayers actually do okay. They do 1 wound to his general and 1 wound to the BSB. You could actually see the wound, the red die counter as to the wounds caused. You can't see it here, but you can see in the previous slide. My Slayers only take 2 wounds, and I get the Chosen Knight. So if I get all the points now for the Chosen Knights, and I'm leaving him with only 2 characters. The Flame Cannon actually does a little bit more damage to his Forsaken. Not as much as the first time, but still enough to completely give him only 2 ranks now. I leave the Dragon Ogres alone. They have nowhere to go. And so I have yet another turn to address them. So they're completely ignored. So I have to do tricks to disable my flash and bump up my exposure. But it seems like my flash must have gone off again. And so it doesn't capture all of the lining. But here you see the bottom of turn 2. And so going from left to right, his Forsakens make the charge. They make that long bomb charge, and but I take it, and he finds out how tough Dwarfs with great weapons and hatred is. He has 2 ranks, total of 22 models coming in, and my Dwarves take about maybe 8 wounds, but I turn around and I reduce them down to 5 models. I also after that I expand my frontage, so that I could continue to do the assault and get rid of that model by the next turn. And so you see that the Gyro and the dogs are still battling it out. So not one of them have taken a wound, so it's pretty much a pillow fight. In the center, oh my gosh, I tell you, the biggest threat to any Dwarf is impact hits. And with no ability to swing back, my Dwarves just lose almost 2 ranks. The Skull Crusher that joins them also continues to bombard the Slayers. I'm able to do 1 wound on everybody else. I think by this particular point, I'm able to kill his general. So now he's left with a Chariot, a BSB, and 1 wound on his Juggernaut, or his Skull Crusher. So this is a bit of a surprise. If you notice on the far right, he charges his Demon Prince into my Thunderers. And I'm thinking the smart thing to do was to, you know, it's hard to say. If he waits another round, he takes another chance of his Dragon Prince getting shot by both my Grudge Thrower and my Cannon. And so to get that threat out, he just charges me, and he charges me in the front. I'm thinking that he's probably thinking he'll be able to get enough wounds to win the combat and break me, or at least just to get out of hand-to-hand combat, or out of shooting and into hand-to-hand. He wasn't able to reach my flank, and so I don't think he wants to risk getting behind me, having another round of shooting. So he just goes out and charges me. but at this point, he's down by 3, right? So I have a BSB, a standard, and I have a rank on him. Actually, I didn't have a rank at the time, so... but what happens is, he has to issue a challenge. My champion accepts, but I win combat. He still kills my champion, but I win combat. So I reform, throw an extra rank out there, and now I plan to hold him out for a couple turns. I'm thinking that a minimum, I'll be able to hold him 3 more combat rounds, but most likely I'll be able to hold him up until maybe the 5th or 6th turn. By that time, I should be able to address the rest of the threats on the table. So this is the top of turn 3 for the Dwarves, and things continue to go my way and downhill for my opponent. With nobody to shoot at, my flame cannon, my organ gun, and my cannon focus all their shots on the Dragon Ogres. They're completely wiped out of the table. My Grudge Thrower shoots at his dogs, causes enough wounds for a panic, and they flee off of the table. In hand-to-hand combat, my Gyro finally beats and kills 2 dogs, and they flee. And he just says, at 25%, they're not going to rally. He takes them off of the table. My Longbeards finish off the rest of the Forsaken and turn around and get ready for a countercharge to the center battle. And here, so what happens here is, you could see that the Slayers take a lot of wounds, and with that, they get their death blow back, and they finish off the Skull Crusher, and finish off the Chariot. Actually, the finishing wound is caused by my Gyro. Oh yeah, go Gyro! He pulls through. He's only there for combat res, but he ends up giving an extra wound. So at that point, needing Snake Eyes to win, or to stick around, his BSB breaks. And at that point, the game's over. He calls it a game. I reach breakpoint for his fortitude, and the game's over. We don't even do the battle for the Demon Prince. And so it's a solid victory for the Dwarves. I achieve max battle points, which it ends up being a 20-7 victory for the Dwarves. Anyhow, thank you for listening. And stay tuned for the next battle report. This is Cohen Moore signing out.